The internet has this peculiar effect on people of motivating them to front on having higher and higher levels of sophistication. You can't just come on YouTube and say, guess how I lose weight, look great, stay in shape, gain muscle mass. I do 200 push-ups. Oh no, it can't be that you just do 200 push-ups, the same motion, the same exercise again and again. You have to have a system. You have to have a secret trick. You have to have, 10 of this exercise and 10 of that exercise. There have to be layers of complexity to what you're explaining to the audience. How do you learn the Spanish language? How do you learn French? How do you learn Chinese, right? There's a sort of strange corrupting influence of YouTube itself to act as if we're always representing a higher level of sophistication than the members of our audience. And what happened in retro gaming is that the quest for hidden gems and to make YouTube videos that would win you an audience by sharing your joy and stumbling upon a hidden gem, instead created a kind of backlash where now all the sophisticated YouTubers pretend there are no hidden gems, man. I mean, the most notorious advocates of this view are Pat the NES Punk and his co-host Ian, who have declared definitively that now, in the 21st century, with everything having been documented on YouTube and on the internet generally, there are no hidden gems. There are only gems. Nonsense. In fact, there are more hidden gems today than ever before. And with the passage of time, my thesis is they will become more hidden and there's more of a role for those of us who are old enough to remember 1989 to share those hidden gems with the next generation. Okay? Now, do you know anybody under the age of 30? Okay. My girlfriend's 31. Melissa, had you even heard of Gyrus when we first got together, when you became my girlfriend? Like to begin with, for anyone under the age of 40, Gyrus is an obscure title to begin with. But guess what? The Famicom Disk System version of Gyrus, not the arcade version, not the Atari 8-bit computer version, right? The Famicom Disk System version. That is a hidden gem, okay? Are you kidding me? How much more obscure can anything in this hobby get? Well, can I slide this down? There you go. Goes into the background of the video. Pac-Man Championship Edition. Now, this is a contrast, an instructive contrast intentionally. I mean, you could make the argument that if you were alive in Japan in the late 1980s and early 1990s, you would have heard of Gyrus and you would be aware that there's this remarkable version of it that's unique for the Famicom Disk System. Yeah, well, that's a long time ago in a far distant country. This game, Pac-Man Championship Edition on the Famicom, 8-bit NES, Famicom, etc. That's a hidden gem, and it was obscure from day one. This originated as a fan-made game. Some guy took it as a personal challenge, trying to make an 8-bit Famicom version of what's basically a 3DS game. That generation of systems. We own it on the 3DS also. It's already pretty obscure on the 3DS. This fan-made version. Oh, yeah. Some of you are going to get at me in the comments. Oh, well, actually, Namco included that on one of the Namco museums. Yeah, fuck you. It's a hidden gem. And with the passage of time, it's only going to become more hidden. Like, if you've heard of it, if you're aware of this today, just 5 years from now, right? It's not going to become better known. It's not going to be easier to find or hear about. Or it's a hidden gem. And for the new generation of people growing up, it's only going to be more hidden. But look, even people my age, if you are in your 40s, if I have a male friend, another dude in his 40s, how would he have heard of either one of those? Of course he's going to be surprised. Of course he's going to be delighted to find it on my YouTube channel. Now look, again, Xevious as a name, not a hidden gem. Incredibly famous, well-known game. Better known in Japan than the Western world. And the normal Famicom version is terrible. But there's a unique sequel. Yeah, notice the subtle difference? Black cart, gleaming gold cord. there is a unique sequel that is only on the Famicom. This isn't the same as the arcade game. This isn't the same as anything. This isn't the same as any of the games on the PC Engine or TurboGrafx. It's unique on this platform only. And it's vastly better than the arcade original. And it's certainly vastly better than this piece of crap. No offense. I showed it to my girlfriend who bought me both of those as a gift, by the way. That is a hidden gem. These things are hidden, and they are more obscure now than ever. And in the next 5 years, they're only going to become more obscure still, more unknown. Now, I want to say, as we move forward in generations, I think the problem becomes worse, not better. What's the greatest version of Dig Dug ever made? Yeah, I bet people ask you this question all the time, right? You're sitting around with your homies, drinking a 40 ounce on the curb. And it's like, when you really think about Dig Dug, it was a good idea for a game, but did they ever really evolve that to its... Yeah, there is a unique version of Dig Dug on the Nintendo DS. Okay, Dig Dug Digging Strike. Again, my girlfriend bought it for me at least $20. It was not that cheap. A lot of this stuff is $5. Let's say it was $20, something like that. It was a gift my girlfriend bought me. That is the greatest game in the series of Dig Dug games, in the history of the concept of Dig Dug. How would you have heard of it? No matter what age you are. Oh yeah, I saw the movie? Yeah, I remember when Dig Dug the movie was in theaters. No! Most people, whether you are now 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, you had something better to do when this obscure game came out on the Nintendo DS. And like even current gen stuff, like if you're looking at retro gaming on current platforms, we own the C64 Mini, Commodore 64 Mini. My girlfriend mentioned this the other day. There is a unique version of Sonic the Hedgehog on the Commodore 64 Mini. Now, I know about that because I lived through the 5 minutes of hype it had on the internet. Okay, so it's a fan-made game, free to download, etc. Okay? 1 year from now, that's going to be incredibly obscure. Doesn't matter the age group. If you have a friend who's 50 years old, and you go, oh, hey, did you know there was a version of Sonic the Hedgehog on the Commodore 64? Of course they didn't know that. Someone who was 20 years old, 25 years old. The point is, there are even more hidden gems being produced today. If you're talking about neo-retro stuff, brand new stuff for old platforms, or old-fashioned new games simulating the aesthetic and the ethos of the classic, 8-bit and 16-bit era, it's already obscure. Like, those things are obscure from day one, from the launch, and with the passage of time, they only become more obscure. So this is what I have to say. Pat the NES punk, Ian, shame on you. No, there are hidden gems, okay? And this might seem like a strange sort of extension of the topic. When I was growing up, I never heard the word Thucydides once. Thucydides is the name of an author. Nobody told me to read Thucydides. Nobody told me to read Appian. Nobody told me to read Sallust. There were really important, really meaningful authors from the history of the world, from the ancient world especially. And, I grew up with parents who were crazy Marxists, crazy communists. All I ever heard about growing up was Karl Marx and Lenin and Stalin and Mao Zedong. I didn't know about this stuff. I didn't even know that, for example, Karl Marx himself was massively influenced by and massively drew inspiration from ancient Roman authors. He was quite obsessed with a number of ancient Latin and ancient Greek works. He was very influenced by Aristotle. I hate Karl Marx. I'm an anti-Marxist, by the way, just mentioning a passage. But my parents were Marxists. So I know this is going to sound weird, but taking the time to share your life experience with others, the books the books that change your life, the books that could change someone else's life, that's also a really important form of hidden gem.